Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word, a daily devotional in the Word of God.
Derek, we've been looking at John 10. It's a very, very rich chapter.
Absolutely.
It's a chapter they would have understood implicitly because they were surrounded by sheep and shepherds. It was part of Jewish life, really. I mean, sheep were used in offerings, for example. So they were very familiar with that. Jesus gets to what for us has to be the really big point when in verse 11 he says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. I think for all of us, whether we understand taking care of sheep or not, that this idea that the one who is leading us is willing to surrender his life for us is, it almost leaves you speechless.
It really does, and I think it's because it contrasts so much with other leadership roles. Now, granted, the leader should be, the captain. The phrase "captain goes down with the ship" kind of mentality, but a lot of times, that leader is someone, and in many aspects is giving the orders, is telling you where to go. We have this image of a king. He's behind the front lines, telling his soldiers where to march and where to go and how to attack. And so I think some people get that mindset of leadership, but the reality is Jesus demonstrates to us that true leadership is actually out ahead, is actually leading like a shepherd would lead his flock, and is out leading and demonstrating how we're to live and how we're to lead. And what that allows for is for this good shepherd, for Jesus, to take the enemy head on, which he does.
Right.
He's the first one that so to speak, is confronted by the wolves, and he's the first one that is confronted by any outside forces that are coming to us. He took the fight for us, which is why we're made victorious is through him. And so here you have a leader who is out in front, who is this good shepherd, who is leading his flock. And I see so many things we can learn about being a good leader and also being a good sheep when you look at this particular account and talking about Jesus and the good shepherd. It's really important.
Well, it is, and you alluded to this, that there's a difference when you talk about a fellow that's just hired to take care of the sheep.
Oh, absolutely.
And Jesus brings that up in verse 12 when he says, but a hireling, he who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he's a hireling and does not care about the sheep. And you have to think about David when he's talking to Saul. He's still a young shepherd boy by the description of his own brother.
Right.
And he tells Saul, look, I've killed the lion, I've killed the bear. He took on what endangered his flock, and a fellow that is not invested in the flock like Jesus was wouldn't go the direction that he went.
Yeah, and that's right. And we have to kind of take into account, turn this and look at our relationship to God as Christians, as His servants, as people that are working for Him. We need to be, as invested as a part of the work, and because that's what Christ did for us. He laid down His life, and that's what this whole little section is talking about here, about Him laying down His life. That's how invested He was into the church, into the kingdom. Are we that invested? Now, no, we're not going to die for the souls of man. We're not pure enough. We're not good enough individually, but can we lay our life down in service to God, in service to Him, in service to His kingdom? I think there's a lot of things that we kind of move from this. I notice this as we go through verses 14 and following. It says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and lay down my life for the sheep. And so there's just knowledge here between the sheep and the shepherd. They know not only who He is, but they know what He's willing to do for them, what He has done for them. And He says, I have other sheep that are not of this fold, I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from the Father. And so we see here that Jesus, as this good shepherd, has taught us how to lay our life down for God, how to give it all to Him, and how to for us as sheep to follow after Him as the good shepherd.